Hello again, I am Fluff, and today I'm going to be looking at one of War Thunder's premium tanks, namely the Panzerbefehlswagen 6P, which from now on I will refer to just as the Tiger P. This little look will be for the 1.45 version of the tank in War Thunder, so if you're watching this a little bit after the fact, do take that into account. There may have been changes. Okay then, well, the Tiger P is a tier 4 premium heavy tank that will cost you 6,090 gold. That means your minimum spend if you want to acquire this thing is going to be £26 and a penny. Hence, if you're not thoroughly convinced by this one, perhaps it would be better to wait for it to go on sale, or for one of the occasional discounts on gold purposes. The 6.0 battle rating that this machine has does mean that you can see T-32s and IS-3s in the fight. You can certainly expect to see plenty of IS-2s. It earns an extra 100% gold and an extra 256% RP. In terms of features, the Tiger P is slower and heavier than its Tiger H cousin. It's got quite a significant amount of armour added to the front of the hull. It also gets access to APCR ammunition, which is quite significant, although as I understand it, this is something that the Tiger H should have but doesn't. Now, while it is true, and definitely worth mentioning, that the Tiger P gets that additional frontal hull armour, which I believe acts as spaced armour and gives you a total of 200mm protection where it actually covers, that's not where the story ends. If you take a look at those armour plates, you'll probably notice that the top one doesn't actually cover the MG port, so that is just 100mm, I believe, of armour, which makes that a weak point. And you do have a couple of problems with weak points in your turret mantlet, where you have 75mm and then 90mm of armour respectively. And up top you also have this quite prominent commander's cupola, which is only about 80mm thick. Well, obviously that's not ideal, but it is workable. However, there's one additional point that really doesn't help the state of affairs, which are the cheeks on either side of the hull here, which are only 82mm thick, and because of the way they're placed, mean that you need to try and remain face on to an enemy directly in order to avoid presenting him with a very easy way of giving you a hell of a lot of trouble, especially considering the fact that you will probably have at least partially full ammo racks behind one or both of those cheeks. How does all this pan out in the fight then? Well, first off, if you're fighting an opponent point blank to medium range, and he has a clue what he's doing, you are going to be up against it. If they're close enough that they can be accurately putting rounds through your weak spots, and they know them, then you're not going to last long. And you don't really have the handling to try and do any fancy manoeuvring to minimise your chances of getting whacked. On the other hand, there are plenty of players who, once you get to within about 50 meters, panic and fling shots willy-nilly straight into that really thick frontal hull armor and do absolutely bugger all to you. Of course, at the same time this is going on, you'll be making sure to introduce them to your friend KWK36. I have to say that with the Shermans, they tend to be particularly bad for this. I would think because they generally have a bit less penetration, so they really should be aiming at those weak spots. They can't manage what the Russian large caliber armed tanks and tank destroyers can do, which is essentially just derp you with a single shot and run away laughing. Out at longer ranges, say 700 meters plus, things start swinging back in your favour a bit. Obviously, it's much harder to be accurate at those kind of ranges, and your opponents are going to be more just hoping that they hit something that their round's actually going to be able to go through. Having said that, the Russian 122mm guns particularly are still a major threat because your turret just isn't that strong. In my playtime with the Tiger P, I have definitely noticed a trend towards Russian 122 guns going straight through my turret, even at quite extreme ranges. Overall then, the Tiger P is a decent tank. The 88mm performs quite nicely, and as you might expect, it is helped quite a bit by the addition of that APCR ammunition. The extra armour on the front of the hull is nice to have, although when you combine this with the weak points that are present on the front of the tank, it does mean that it's not quite as effective as it could be if you end up going in at closer range. The big point that occurs to me is that I just could not recommend it at the price point that they've got it at right now. I really don't think it's worth the best part of 30 quid, particularly when you compare this to the other premium tanks of similar price. If you were looking for a tier 4 premium tank and you wanted it to be a German one, then you also have the option of the premium Jagdpanther, and as far as I know, people's impressions of that are generally more favourable. If you really didn't care what nation the premium tank came from, you just wanted a tier 4 premium tank, then you could pick up the SU-122P, and that thing is a bit of a beast. As regards my fortunes in the Tiger P, I'm only counting the games I've played in realistic battles, because I quickly found this tank to be fairly subpar for me in arcade. So as far as the statistics go, of 32 battles, 19 were wins, which means a 59% victory to battle ratio. I have 35 ground kills for 23 deaths. I've made 285,000 silver and 27,000 RP. I would also add to you, before taking anything I say seriously, to bear in mind that although I'm a decent player, I do have a very strong propensity towards playing like a complete idiot and trying to use things in ways that they're just not supposed to be in order to give myself some laughs. Basically, be sure to check a few sources. Besides that, thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful. If you happen to own a Tiger P, I'd be interested to hear what you think of the machine, but that is all I have for you right now, so thanks again for watching, and take care.